Let's go! LSU football fans, we got more practice footage to break down. Monday's video was so much fun with all the quarterbacks, and guess what? We have more quarterback throws to look at, but the one player I want to discuss today is Kardell Thomas. I get so many questions about him, and we finally got to see a little clip of him in today's footage, but it wasn't necessarily the best thing. So if you want to fast forward to any position group, you're going to get to look at all of them today. You can see down below the chapters, but let's get to it. And here we go. We're already doing some running back drills. These are the running backs working on their receptions. Now, I don't know if they've ever done this drill where they get behind the goalposts and work on catching the football with limited vision. This is good. Once again, this has been a theme with Jake Peetz working with the running backs in catching the football out of the backfield, which is something Kev Falk did a good job of as a professional. You'll see in the background a gold uniform right here. That's Kole Moore. That is Jaray Jenkins. You'll see them in this next drill, which is basically them practicing catching the football over the top of their heads, because obviously this is something. Here's DJ Mangus right here. Sometimes there's a defensive back on your side, and this is a very difficult catch, kind of like the Willie Mays over the shoulder catch, or Jim Edmonds, or any baseball reference you want to make here. And this is good considering Kole Moore and Jaray Jenkins both had issues with drops last season. Both had high drop rates. In fact, they were amongst the team lead in drop percentage. Now, here's Derek Stingley Jr. This is a guy that we're going to focus a lot on over the next couple of weeks. You guys mentioned in the live stream yesterday you want more Derek Stingley content. Here's Jaquelin Roy. Here's Cordell Flott, a really close friend of Derek Stingley Jr. I know a lot of you are wondering if Cordell Flott, after a rough season, is going to get a start. This is Jared Small, who you've seen a lot of this spring. Obviously, Dwight McGlothern, Xavier Fountain, a backup safety. And for the first time, we really get to see Eric Taylor. He's number 96. Here's Mason Smith, Peyton Todd, a few other freshmen going through here. We move over to the linebackers. Good to see, once again, Josh White in a non-contact uniform. Now, for clarity of this video, since I'm talking, I'm not playing the audio from this video. But just to let you know, Blake Baker is very, very vocal in practice. I love Blake Baker's energy, and he's really working positively with these linebackers here. Once again, this is a guy that's a very interesting prospect. Xavier Carter has not been working. He was recruited as a pass rusher. We were told he was going to be a traditional defensive end. He's a little light, and as of right now, he's been working mostly with the traditional linebackers in the footage that we've seen. Once again, here's Derek Stingley Jr. stepping up as a leader. This is such a big season for him if he's going to potentially declare for the NFL draft. Here's Dwight McGlothern. This is someone else that Stingley Sr. mentioned is having a really good spring. He said Dwight McGlothern is upbeat, very vocal. So here's Lloyd Kole, who we've seen in a few clips now. Never really seen him play, but, he goes through drills pretty smoothly. This is Ray Darius Jones. Once again, another guy that's never really gotten his shot. And here is Darren Evans. And one thing you got to look for in these practice footage, don't just focus on who's actually in this drill. Take a look at who's in the backdrop, and you'll see from this practice as we move on, drills are starting to become a little bit more physical. Here's Jay Ward here at the safeties, Derek Davis Jr. in the backdrop. So one thing we've seen is that the corners have been working with the corners and the safeties have been working with the safeties, and it has been obviously Corey Raymond working with the corners, and our guy in the background here, this is Durante Jones, once again working with the safeties. And something else that Stingley Sr. mentioned in the interview is that communication is so much better. You're hearing the checks. You're hearing the guys go through different drills, which is good. We're seeing Lloyd Cole go through this drill here with Corey Raymond. Someone said barbecue chicken here. Barbecue chicken, in the words of Shaquille O'Neal. Anytime someone says barbecue chicken, I get excited. Even though barbecue chicken is not the best way to do chicken. Grilled chicken with some lemon pepper is the best way to do wings. But like grilled chicken, Tony's, you don't need too much. Anyway, we get to the offensive line. This is a simple drill working on double team and communication. So I know offensive line play can get boring, but if you're here, you love die-hard LSU football content. Now, what's funny about this shot right here, this is number 67, Spencer Payne, a redshirt freshman out of Texas. Number 77 here is Marlon Martinez, working here with Charles Turner, the backup center. So these are obviously the backups here, working here with Dare Rosenthal. But let's go back to right here. And I want you to notice a few things. Okay, so first off, you see number 75 here, Anthony Bradford. This is a guy that Ed Orgeron has been raving about as potentially the next great offensive lineman, the guy that could potentially win a starter's job. We see Chasen Hines here, and if you just look at Chasen Hines, I know I've been critical of him, but look, this guy is built like an SEC guard. Look at his legs, look at his frame. If he could put it all together. Now, I've watched him film from him in 2018. He looked pretty good at left guard compared to him playing right guard last season. Maybe that's something that LSU can think about. But if there was a change on the offensive line, this would be the change. It would be Anthony Bradford in for Chasen Hines. As of right now, Ed Orgeron said he's sticking with the same 5 offensive linemen. Let me make sure I get this right. One of you guys super chatted a question about this. Desmond, shout out to you. You super chatted a question. Obviously, we answered it in the live stream, and that's a fun thing about live streams. You can ask your question, and of course, I'll answer it the best I possibly can. Now, what's interesting is not only looking at these two players. Take a look who's in the background. Kardell Thomas, number 58. Now, once again, these drills are just drills. People take turns. People go first. Don't take too much away from the spring practice. But notice here, we've yet to really see Kardell Thomas in a drill this spring. Kind of off to the side, kind of, with this helmet off. And one thing about Kardell Thomas is, speaking to a few offensive line coaches, they said Kardell Thomas, his lower body is not built compared to what his upper body should be. It's not, he's a little top heavy. And if you look here, once again, this is just spring. Don't take too much away from it. Take a look at Chasen Hines' legs. I mean, these are tree trunks. And, these are thin legs. Look at all the other offensive linemen. I know that that's kind of weird, okay? I understand. And once again, this is spring. Don't take too much away from this. And I'm not a strength coach, a body physiologist, or anything like that. Once again, not giving up on Kardell, but it's just an observation. So, this is Garrett Dellinger right here. Marcus Dumerville in the background. And here's your first-team offensive lineman working on a double team. Now, James Craig in the background here said, keep that outside arm free. So what does that mean exactly? Well, one thing is the communication between Liam Shanahan and Chasen Hines. And before I go any further, I hope Kardell Thomas turns out to be Alan Faneca. I say this, I want every LSU player to succeed. This is my favorite team of all time. This is my life and joy, but it was just an observation. I don't want anyone to say, well, he was talking bad about Kardell Thomas. So essentially what James Craig is coaching up here is to make sure that when you get to this double team, you're able to get a piece of this guy and then get to the next level. And that's what they're working on here. Passing off blocks. You hear it all the time. And it's even more important in pass protection. This is obviously just simple run blocking. And there's Anthony Bradford getting work in with Charles Turner. Here's Charles Turner with Garrett Dellinger, and then here's another double team. That was actually Ed Ingram and Dare Rosenthal on that double team. So we continue here. Once again, lots of red zone work, lots of work quarterbacks throwing with the tight ends. Cole Taylor there with TJ Finley. Now, once again, here's Blake Baker. He's very loud. He's very active. Once again, I'm not playing audio. Once again, you can't just focus on what's happening here. Take a look at this backdrop. Defensive ends working on their pass rushing drill, working on getting around an edge, working on leverage here. and that's actually Sony Fanua. There is Philip Webb, once again, out of the gold non-contact uniform, which is really good. Let's go back here, and let's start this drill over and give this drill their full focus. So, essentially, Ed Orgeron mentioned that they're bringing back more drills to get these linebackers more physical. And essentially what this is doing is teaching you how to tackle and run through a blocker to make the tackle. And this is just a really good reenactment. I really do like this drill because you are affecting the tackler while he's making a tackle. Very rarely are you going to get a tackle where it's just clean, especially if you're running a 4-3 where offensive linemen are more likely to get to the second level. You got to be able to find off these guys and still make tackles. So, really good stuff there. All right, so essentially what you saw with the defensive ends in the backdrop is what we're doing here with the defensive tackles. Just your Clay and Roy going around the corner here. And once again, not to make too much out of any of this, this is just really good stuff. They're working on clubbing, and essentially what clubbing is you're just trying to get this offensive lineman's arm off of you, and you're taught to hit this and rip underneath it. And I'm not playing the audio, but in the backdrop, you can hear Ed Orgeron said, "End every move with a rip." Okay? Notice Mason Smith did not do that. And what a rip essentially is the rip is when you rip underneath it. Your arm essentially goes up underneath the offensive lineman's arm right here. So this is Jacoby and Guillory. And you see that rip? That's what it is. It's essentially a rip. A swim is when you go over the top like that. Okay? So good rip move there. Rip underneath it. Good stuff from Mason and Jacobian. Obviously, some deep ball here. Coy Moore in the yellow non-contact uniform. And here is TJ throwing a deep ball here. Not his best throw to Jontre. Here's something Max Johnson needs a lot of work on, his deep ball. It kind of fluttered. I'm not going to break down deep ball throws, but the big thing here, this is Alex Adams in the number 12 uniform back on offense already. So I guess the safety experiment is already over. And essentially here, once again, I'm not playing the audio, but here's Trey Palmer, and everyone going through the drills. And you're going to see Mickey Joseph right here say, you need to fight back to the football. And that's something that they weren't doing in this drill. But essentially, if a ball is underthrown, you got to fight back towards it, potentially draw a pass interference penalty and whatnot. So there you go. We move on here. TJ Finley once again. And based on our video from Monday, or earlier this week, it was just an observation. Now, what I like is that a lot of you didn't freak out over my analysis of all four of these quarterbacks. It is interesting that of the four quarterbacks, only one of them wears a flak jacket in practice, and that is TJ Finley. He's also the only one that wears a visor, but, to each your own. Each person has their own way of practicing. It's interesting that Ed Orgeron mentioned that Garrett Nussmeier's playmaking ability is absolutely insane. He said he's been blown away, but he's also said he's been blown away by all four of the quarterbacks. I am interested in pointing this out. He did say Miles Brennan had the best last Thursday of practice out of anyone on the team. So, who is winning the quarterback battle? We simply don't know. But it's just an interesting note. If you want to see our flak jacket breakdown, I'll link it above or down below. Here's Coy Moore. There's our guy, Kayshawn. And then in the backdrop here, you see Todd Harris. You see Jordan Tolles. You see all these guys going through all these drills. Here's our guy right here. Your best player on offense, Kayshawn, going through drills. Not taking plays off. You got to love it, baby. Let's go, Kayshawn. Let's go. Potential number 7? Potential? It's George Munoz working with the quarterbacks in the back. We continue here. So notice not Kayshawn, but notice who's next up in this drill. My friend and yours, Devonta Lee, who's getting a lot of praise from the LSU coaching staff. So before we get out of here, I want to discuss Kardell Thomas a little bit more because I think he deserves a deeper discussion, if that makes sense, because his situation is unlike any other offensive lineman. There's something in my eye. What is this? His situation is so much different than any other offensive lineman really to ever exist. Like, he was a YouTube phenomenon, along with Eric Gilbert and, to an extent, Tyrion Davis-Price. They all were featured on a YouTube platform called Overtime, and they are huge on Instagram. They're huge everywhere. And I like Overtime. In fact, I believe I applied for a job there like a few years ago. I mean, they are a growing media entity, and what's very interesting about them is that, you know, they have professional athlete funding. They've teamed up with all these crazy YouTubers. And if you actually go look at Kardell Thomas's YouTube numbers, if you search his name in the YouTube bar, and some of you guys are looking at it now, it's crazy how many views he racked up. Like, it is so hard to have 1 million views on anything. Like, there are full-time YouTubers that have made millions of dollars on the platform that have never had a video touch 1 million views. It is nuts. And that is what makes Kardell Thomas so crazy, is that he has well over 5 to 7 million views on all his videos combined, and multiple videos that have well over 1 million views. What's interesting is you see this graphic here. This is from one of his videos from Overtime. This is a 2-hour-long thing that has close to 1 million views. I mean, it's crazy. However, you know, while I like Overtime, a lot of the clips that made him viral to make him Mr. Pancake were drills where it's like at camps. They do one-on-one drills, and the linemen aren't in pads, and you can get fancy pancakes, and, you know, the whole focus is on you. It is rare for an offensive lineman that the entire focus is on you. This is the only time where that really is the case. And look, it's wild that we are that this even happened, that an offensive lineman had this much hype when Kardell Thomas wasn't a 5-star. He was barely a top 100 prospect, which is still pretty good. But with the virality and all that aside, Kardell Thomas still has an opportunity to be a good offensive lineman at LSU. Look, he is, so in 2019, he had the redshirt year because of the injury. Then in 2020, it didn't count against anybody's eligibility. So this next season will be his first year of eligibility. So even if he doesn't play, in 2022, he could be a starter with 3 years of eligibility remaining. So I would not write Kardell Thomas off just yet. I know I've heard some people say he's a bust and he's not lived up to the hype. He had the injury. He had all this hype, which is an immense amount of pressure. Which I hope you enjoyed this video today. I hope I answered all your Kardell Thomas questions in this video. And I just said video 2 times, now 3 times. Wasn't smooth. But anyway, Tuesday, Saturday nights, 7 p.m. Central. You know the live stream schedule. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! Come on, Kardell. I got you. Man, I think we're doing chicken wings tonight, but I'm feeling some I've not had flapjacks in a while. Huh?